Hi there, welcome to the second part of this Zbrush tutorial. Today we will see how to make a render in Zbrush, and what materials we can use to make a composition in Photoshop. First, we will see how to adjust the lights of our character, and then, we will work with the materials. Before we start, we always have to adjust the size of our render and the background color. To do this, we have to go to Document, and then, we have to click on Back, to choose the background color, but we will see that in detail in a minute. First, let's bring our character. In my case, Slimer from the Ghostbusters. I will quickly apply a material for the eye. To apply different materials in our subtools, we must first choose our subtool. Then we have to click on the button M, Material Channel, and then in the Color menu, we have to click on Fill Object. When you do this, a brush will appear in our subtool panel. This indicates that our subtool now has a color or poly paint information. You can repeat this process for each subtool if you want a different color for each part of your character. Let's continue. Let's see how to adjust the size of our render. To do this, we must go to our Document panel. There you will see that there is a setting for the height and width of our canvas or document size. If we press the Export button, it will export an image with the default size. To change this, we must first disable the Pro button, which only constrains the proportion, and then we can set the size we want. So, I'm going to make it 4756 for 6960. Remember, hit Enter afterwards, so that values registers. Now we just have to click on Resize button, and then we click Yes. Now you will see that our canvas has been enlarged to the new size, and our character has been dropped to 2.5D. So if we want to render our character in 3D, not 2.5D, we are going to hit Ctrl-N to clear our canvas. Now, you will see only a portion of our canvas of that 4756 by 6960 resolution image. So, you only need to click the Zoom button and zoom out some. Then, we are going to zoom our canvas out until we can see the extents of our size. I am going to change the background color now, and to do this, you have to go to Document and take your range to 0. Then you can choose the color you want. In my case, I am going to choose black. Once we have the size and the background color done, we can redraw our character again, so I'm going to click and drag out our character. Then we go to the Edit mode by clicking T on the keyboard or clicking here. And then click F to center our character. I had selected the wrong subtool. Let's choose the body and click F again. Now you can start position your character. You can zoom in, or click on Actual Size to show the actual size of your character. You can scroll and check out the resolution too. Okay, let's position our character. As you can see, if I move the body, the eye is not moving. To move several subtools at the same time is very simple. First, we have to create a folder and place each part of our character inside. Then, you select an object inside the folder and click on that little gear icon to open this up. Now, the three first actions are going to transport the parts that are in that folder all together. I am going to click on Transport Add. Now I can move my character all together. Remember that to save the position of your character, you must go to Documents, Custom One. Okay, now let's see how to set the lights. For this, we must click on Lights, and then position our first light. This can take time because this first light is important. It will determine the main light and shadow of our character. Click on the BPR button, Best Preview Render, to see what it looks like. Take your time to see the shadows, that the brightness does not saturate the colors, and to find a balance between light and shadow. Once you have the first light ready, you can activate the second light. Generally, I use the second light to locate it on the back of the character. If you touch the sphere, this will place the light from the front to the back of the character. This is ideal to give the character more depth and edge lighting. Once you are happy with the result, we will go to Render menu, and then to BPR Shadow. Here we can adjust the angle of the shadow. I usually use a value around 30. This will give the shadow a softer look. You can try the settings to find the one that best suits your scene. Remember that you must do a render to see the results. For this character, I am only going to modify the angle, raise, resolution, and blur. Once the lighting is ready, you can raise the raise to around 400. Then go to Render Properties, raise the details up to 4, and click on the Occlusion button. Then, come down to the Occlusion and raise up the raise to around 400, the resolution to around 4500, and the V-depth and the blur to 1. This will give us a better ambient occlusion. Once you finish rendering, you can go to the BPR render. There, you will find your render and also the shadow, depth, shaded, mask and the ambient occlusion. To save them, you only have to click on them and save them as PSD files. We will use them later when we make the composition in Photoshop. Now we are going to do other renders. All these renders with different materials will help us create the final image in Photoshop. Before starting, I am going to turn off the occlusion and the shadows, since we are not going to need them anymore. Then, we have to select our character, we go to Materials, and choose our first material. Flat color. If you don't see the change when you choose the new material, it is because you are working with several materials on the material mode. In this case, simply select the M button, go to Color, and click on Fill Object. Then make a new render, and go to Render Pass. From now on we will just save the shaded map as PSD. I am going to name it Flat. And click on Save. When I work organic objects, I tend to start with the MatCap 4 texture. Then in Photoshop you will see why. The process is always the same. We just have to render, and then save the PSD. Then we can use the MatCap Skeleton. Render it and save the PSD. To make this faster, I'm going to show you the list of the 11 materials that you should render. In the description, you can find the names of each one in the same order. If you do not have some of these materials, I will leave also a link in the description from where you can download them for free. Okay, now let's work on the lights. To start, we can export some reflected lights. To do this, we can choose first a blend material. Go to the lights and then turn off the secondary light. We will only use the main one. Then turn the colors to black. You can raise the distance to 100, put the ambient occlusion on 3, and then raise the intensity. We will use this as a reflective light later. You can click on the sphere to place the light behind the character. Find the place you want to highlight, render it, and save the PSD file. These images are the ones that will later help us to illuminate our character in the final composition. Now, what we are going to do is several renders moving the light. Then we will test which ones we can use in Photoshop. It is always good to have a variety of options to choose from. Again, take your time and see what works best for your characters. In my case, I had already planned Slimer's position, and I wanted to use a light that comes from the right side of the character, and also from below to give him a scarier look. Then, we will choose the jelly bean material. This one has like a secondary softer light in it. So, it will give you like a soft gray between the black and white, and that will help to define the shapes. Finally, to work the map in Photoshop, we can do the following. We are going to choose the flat map material. Change the color to white, and save this render. To keep everything organized, I usually do the following. As you can see, I have the original PSD files. And then I have created 2 folders, one for lights and one for materials. Inside lights, I keep all the renders that we have created to illuminate the composition in Photoshop. And in the same way, I have the materials folder, where I keep all the materials that we render. It is always important to be organized, since there are cases where we are going to generate a large number of files, and then working in Photoshop or finding them will be difficult. Just be organized. So, that's it. I hope it gave you a better idea of how to render in ZBrush. It is not difficult, and the truth is that ZBrush offers a wide variety of materials to make amazing compositions in Photoshop. I always recommend you to play. Do trial and error. That is how great things happen. So, I will see you in the next video where we will make the final composition. And I promise you that it will be very interesting. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.